Hey guys, Coach Donnie Marr here, eXp Realty, Memphis, Tennessee, and 2023 is upon us. The new year's here in just a couple days. So this week we want to talk about should you consider joining a team in 2023. So stay tuned, like the channel, like the video, and let's chat real estate. Teams. So 2023 is coming up. New Year's Day is just in a couple days. And I know a lot of you right now are trying to figure out how am I going to improve my business from 2022 to 2023, in particular in a down market. Number one, I know there's a lot of realtors out there that will kind of poo-poo on teams sometimes. And what I find is oftentimes they've never been on a team. Or they were on a team that maybe that team wasn't great, or maybe they just didn't want to do what the team was willing to do, or they just weren't willing to do what it takes to begin with. And we know that about 80% of all realtors will not renew their license after the first 2 years. So my number one piece of advice is be careful who you take advice from. It is not good for you to take advice from somebody who's going to be out of business in 2 years because they couldn't make any money in real estate. So if somebody like that is telling you whether you should or should not go on a team, or you should or should not go to this brokerage or that brokerage, be careful who you listen to, because remember, 80% of those people will be gone in 2 years. Those weren't the people you wanted to listen to. So should you consider a team? Well, I'm going to kind of break this down into pros and cons for you to help you kind of make it easy. I'm probably a little bit biased. I run a large team. I believe in teams just because I don't see a whole lot of agents who are on teams not renew their license after the first 2 years. Overall, the average agent in the United States sells about 6 houses. They don't make a lot of money, whereas agents on teams oftentimes sell 15 to 20 houses a year on average and make much more money in their pocket than the people who are not on teams, in addition to staying in business much longer. So I probably do have a little bit of bias because I don't think the numbers lie. So I'm going to break it down. Let's hit a couple of the cons first. There's really not a lot of cons to being on a team. I'm going to hit 3 of these. Number one, if you're on a bad team. Yes, it's true that not all teams are created equally. Oftentimes, agents want to start teams because they're tired of doing the work, or they don't want to do the work and they want to pawn that work off on somebody else. And they've only sold a few houses themselves, or they're only selling a few houses a year themselves, and they don't have the training that they need to properly support you on a team. And I agree, that is a con on a team, and you probably should not go on that team. You should be looking for teams with experienced agents, or at a minimum, an agent that is producing at a high level. Even if they're a new team, there's nothing wrong with being a new team, but they need to be an agent who can at least support themselves. If they're only selling 10 houses a year, they're barely supporting themselves. They can't support you as a team member, most likely, unless they grow really fast. So that's definitely a con you got to look at, is it really the right team? 2, does it come at a cost? Does it have a little bit higher of a commission split? Well, absolutely it does. Just like every brokerage in town, just like every realtor in town, just like every business in town, if the team leader doesn't make a profit, they don't get to stay in business. However, I do think that split, that cost that people think of, is much lower than what people actually think it is. And here's the reason why, and I'll cover this in the pros. You generally don't have any expenses. So while you give up a percentage of your commission to that team leader, oftentimes people feel like they're giving up that much to the team leader, when in actuality, it would cost you half of that to go produce that business on your own anyway. So oftentimes you're giving up very little to the team leader. You just don't realize it because you haven't done the math, or haven't gotten to the level in your business where you had a full P&L, where you were seeing all those expenses that you would be paying for to be a high producing team or a high producing agent on your own. And then the last con, you do lose a little bit of autonomy. Yes, you are on a team and you're probably out there promoting the team somewhat. You're probably using some advertising stuff that has the team logo on it in addition to your own name. You do lose a little bit of autonomy, but that's just up to you. The truth is, If you were going to be one of those agents selling 6 houses a year by yourself anyway, you have no autonomy to lose because you didn't have a business anyway. At best, you had a job where you were helping your family. It wasn't like you had a major brand to begin with. So while you are losing a little bit of autonomy, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Being attached to the autonomy of that, or being attached to the branding of that team, is a big time pro. I guarantee you, when people reach out to my new agents and they find out they work with the Mara Group, there's a very high probability that those people go, oh yeah, I've heard the Mara Group on the radio. Oh yeah, I've seen the Mara Group's billboards. Oh, I've seen the Mara Group online. And that gives that agent instant credibility, instant name recognition. So while that agent lost a little bit of autonomy, they gained a whole bunch in brand and instant credibility that it would have taken them years to build on their own. So there you go. There was a couple of the cons. Now let's hit the pros. And man, the pros far outweigh the cons in my opinion. Number one, there's a proven structure. If you go on a team with a great team leader who sold a lot of houses, for instance, I sold 72 houses in 1 year by myself without an assistant or team at all. And I've listed as many as 109 houses myself while running a team. That means I have a proven system that I have proven it works. So obviously there's no reason why, if I can list 109 houses, why can't you list 109 houses if you follow my system? It's almost like buying a franchise. Franchises like a McDonald's or a Wendy's or whatever the case might be have a much higher success rate in business because they're following a proven business model. When you go on a team with a successful agent and you do what that agent teaches you to do, you're following a successful model as well. Number two, training. The team leader is investing a lot in you. This is what agents oftentimes don't understand. The first 6 months an agent is on my team, I generally invest $15,000 to $20,000 in time, resources, advertising, leads, opportunities, all that stuff into those team leaders. And if they don't sell some houses, I never get any of it back. I'm taking all the risk. Whereas if you go do that advertising on your own, you're taking all the risk. Along with that, the pro that comes with that is I offer a lot of training, and we have some pretty intensive training when agents are new, and then we have ongoing training for the whole career of that agent. We never stop and say, hey, we're not going to train you anymore. So because most team leaders, if they're a good team leader, are investing a significant amount of money into their team agents, and I find that team training is much better than most brokers training. Now, why would that be? You would think these brokers are big, they've been doing it forever, and it would be good. And here's the reason why the team training is so good, because a good team leader, and this is another pro, will have you implementing that training. Meaning, oftentimes you go to a brokerage, you go to a classroom, you take that training, you walk out that door, you forget 85% of it, you go back next week for another training, and guess what? You didn't implement the 15% that you remembered from last week, and now you're learning more stuff that you're not going to implement. Well, those of us with a proven system always have implementation in it. For instance, when my agents come on board and train, we have some kind of assignment for them to do before the next training class, because I want them to take that information and be able to learn it and implement it and put it into action, so they're taking action right away. The implementation is a huge part of an agent's success, not the training, and I can improve it. Because training is not what makes you successful, it's the implementation of the training that you learn, and that's a huge benefit of being on a team, is having somebody to help you implement what you've actually learned. The next one is what I really think is like the biggest benefit of being on a team, and that's the accountability. The accountability to actually do that implementation and have the daily habits of implementing that training day after day after day, and hopefully some kind of consequence if you don't implement the training. I know some people don't like the accountability. I also know that some team leaders and brokers will even tell people, oh, we're not going to bother you, we'll leave you alone. I can tell you by looking at the numbers, all the people that I know who do that and tell agents they're going to leave them alone, their agents typically produce at a much lower level than our agents having a little bit of accountability. Here's the thing. If your team leader doesn't care enough about you to say, yes, I'm going to gently hold you accountable and help you to be successful because I believe in you and I believe that you can be successful, and I'm willing to hold you accountable like a coach would do so that your family can be successful. If your team leader isn't willing to do that, do you really want to go work for them? Because it doesn't sound like they care enough about you to make the hard decisions. It's really easy for me to bring you on a team, give you some classes, and go, hey, go do what you want. and then I never call you, I never hold you accountable, I never say, hey, I care enough about you, I want you to be successful, let's look at how we can improve this. If I never do that, I'm not much of a leader in my opinion. I just happen to be a real estate agent that has a team, and I'm just hoping those agents happen to be successful and make me some money. Client opportunities, what a lot of you would call leads. This is the one thing that a lot of you think is so important about being on a team. And even me, the first couple of years as a team leader, I thought, man, if a team's not giving you just a bunch of leads, what's the point in being there? As I grew as a team leader, now that I've been doing this for 8 years and learning year after year after year and a few thousand team sales, I've learned that the leads really are the least of it. The opportunities are important. I always supply my agents with opportunities because it makes them more efficient and it makes it easier for them to meet their goals, and I want to supercharge the business they would have done without my opportunities. However, it should not be the number one consideration, even though it's definitely a pro to have those opportunities coming in, especially in a changing market like we have right now. Another big pro of being on a team is team culture, being around those other successful agents where you're not on an island and you're seeing them do it. Because I got to tell you, if I see one person do it, then I can do it as well. Oftentimes people get into real estate and they don't have much money. Oftentimes people, at least in my part of the country, are scrambling just to scrape together enough money to get their real estate license. Then on top of that, to start having advertising experience or expenses to pay for advertising, expenses for websites, CRM systems, training, all that stuff. 99.9% of the time, all that is taken care of for you on a team. The team leader is taking all that risk. The team leader is the one writing those checks, whether you sell a house or not. Because guess what? If you go do that advertising and then you don't sell a house because you're a new agent and you don't have a lot of sales skills yet, they're still going to hit your credit card. That advertising company, they still want their money whether you're successful or not. Or big benefits being on a team that people don't realize is not have any expenses. And that's why that commission that I mentioned earlier, where you're paying a little bit more of your commission, for most agents, it's worth it because they're paying a much smaller percentage out than they realize that they would have had they been on their own. And I'm going to hit a last pro, and this is not an exhaustive list. There's so many pros to being on a real estate team. Admin help. One of the biggest struggles for real estate agents, and I know one of the things that I definitely underestimated, was how long it takes to do all the paperwork. When I was selling 70 to 100 houses a year personally, doing the paperwork took a lot of my time. And what a lot of people don't realize, you as a business owner, you don't get paid for doing paperwork. You get paid for making sales and helping people buy and sell homes and helping people meet their real estate goals. We offer a lot of admin help on our team, and most teams should offer admin help because they should want to enable you to spend your time on dollar producing activities to help you put money in your pocket instead of spending your time at midnight doing paperwork when you're exhausted. Lord knows I've been there, and especially if you're not a paperwork person like myself, it is not fun. That admin help alone is huge. There's many other benefits I could mention to being on a team, whether it's the benefit of just being focused during the winter months, whether it's the benefit of consistency when you have a bad month and you don't feel like getting out of bed and doing it anymore, or you get a bad client or a deal that falls apart. There's so many mental struggles in real estate that people don't realize. So I don't know if it's right or wrong for you. I just know that for a lot of people in the real estate industry, including a whole lot of people who don't think that they're in this category, being on a team would be right for them. At the same time, I am so glad that there's a lot of you out there that don't need a team, a lot of you that are out there like me that would go build a team, and I want you to go build a team if you're that person, because there are other real estate agents out there who need you. There are other real estate agents who are going to be in that 80% that are not going to renew their license after 2 years unless someone like myself or someone like you starts a great team and takes great care of them and helps them be successful. And then you really have the choice of helping people. They can either be in the 80% and not renew their license, or they can change their family legacy. And that's what's so awesome about being a team leader, is the agents who do want it, I have the opportunity to help them change their family legacy and oftentimes build a lifestyle beyond what they had dreamed. So if you ever need any help, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to help. And you can put down in the comments whether or not you would ever start a team or whether or not you would ever go on a team. I'd love to hear it. Remember, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. Do yourself a favor and like the video.